What's up, everybody? The man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. I'm the man with the power. I'm back with you right now again. Sorry, it's been a little while since I dropped a little video, but I've been extremely busy out in the community doing the work. I just don't read about it. I'm about it, if you will. So I got to be doing the things out there in the community to be able to come back to you and speak to you on these specific topics and areas and things of that nature. So I've been doing suicide prevention work the month of September. I've been working with youth groups, multiple youth groups, and getting them set up and established so they can run throughout the year. I've been doing some prescription medication training and workshops to adults, letting them know about the importance of locking up their medication, take only as directed, type of things. And so I might drop that on you guys a little bit later at some point in time to share with you what that's all about. But also remember that you can always contact me at jamalgivens.com and ask questions. If you want me to come out and do some workshops with your particular community, family, friends, churches, whatever, hit your boy up. I'm there for you. Last time that we talked, I was talking about scheduling. And having a routine within your home, and hope that's going well for you. So I don't want to delve into that. If you missed that, go ahead and pop back into my Facebook feed or go to my website, jamalgivens.com, and watch that video on scheduling and routines. And so what I want to come back to you now is that now that we've been in school for a little while, right? Your youth are probably saying, hey, I want to go to this birthday party, or hey, I want to participate in that, or hey, I want to sleep over somebody's house. And so one of the things that I found is that in talking with youth a lot of times is they always feel like they're kind of being drilled, on questions 50 million times. And Mom, why are you always asking that question? Dad, why are you always on my case about this, that, and the other? And we should be. That's our responsibility, right? So nothing wrong with that. So then I began to think over the last few years, why not put the onus on them instead of us always trying to remember the right questions to ask them? One, why don't we write them down so that we remember to ask them? And two, why do we have to remember all the right questions to ask? I know we're the parent, don't get me wrong, but sometimes we'll forget because, they're asking us, hey, can I sleep over at Jimmy's house? And, you're in there whipping up some batter, you know what I'm saying? Or scrambling some eggs, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, yeah, you can go over there. And then, you think about it like 3 or 4 hours later, you're like, wait a minute, where did he say he was going? What did she say she was doing? Wait, who is she going with? Oh my God, who's picking her up? And you forget all these things, right? Because you were in the moment. So what I came up with was like a little form. A form where we ask questions of the youth, your child, if you will, and ask them a series of questions. But here's the beautiful thing, right? We got cell phones nowadays, right? So check this out. Check this out now, right? Got cell phone. What you do is you have them fill out the form on their phone, and then they forward it to you, right? So again, I'm talking this from middle school up through high school, right? So they fill it out and they send it to you, and then you get an opportunity to review it, and then you can talk to them or send it back to them via email, text, and say, yep, you can go, or nope, that is not happening. Not on my watch, not ever, or whatever it is that you want to do, right? So I created a form. We got a form that we've created. And so if you like this form, and you can probably create one yourself, and so if you don't want mine, that's fine. Just email me at jamalgivens.com. That's jamalgivens.com. And I'll forward you the form, and you can use it for yourself and edit, tweak, add whatever you like. So in looking at this form, there are a couple of questions that I felt that were important that should be asked. And of course, as parents, we can make the form like the IRS tax form. It could be the short form or the long form. But this is kind of like the short middle form. If you want to create a long form and have them fill that out, that's fine with all the additional questions that you're concerned about. Because here's the thing, right? You know your child. You know your youth that you're working with and things of that nature. So there might be some additional questions in here that you definitely want to add for yourself. So when I was looking at these were just kind of like the primary things that we typically ask and sometimes maybe forget to ask. And so this is what I have on the form. So the first one is describe the event that you're going to. Describe the event that you want to attend. Is it a sleepover? Is it a kickback? That's where young people like to just go to somebody's house and play games and just kick back. Is it a haunted house? Is it going to Six Flags or Disneyland or Castles and Coasters or whatever it may be? So describe the event to me that you'd like to attend. After that, the next question is, what's the start and time of that event? What's the start time of that event, and when's the end time of that event? So that gives you an opportunity. So once they describe the event on the form, it talks about what is the start time of the event. Want to know, are we talking about 5 a.m. in the morning? Because I know when I was younger, I had a neighbor who loved to go fishing, and I was cool with his son. And they had a boat and things of that nature, and so they like to go fishing, and they'd be leaving at 4:30 in the morning. And my parents would be like, "Oh yeah, sure, you can go you can go fishing or whatever. It's all good. Don't worry about it." And and they forget to ask me what time. And then later that night, of course, right at 10 o'clock at night, when I'm getting ready, I'm excited. They're like, "What are you so excited about?" I'm like, "We're going fishing at 4 in the morning." And my dad's like, "Who's going fishing? And who's going fishing at 4 o'clock in the morning?" So we want to know the start time, right? So we're not thrown off guard. And then we also need to know the end time, right? Because a lot of times those are things that we don't think about. We think about, oh, you're going to that event? Yeah, it should be over probably around 6 o'clock. No big deal. But lo and behold, you never know. They could be thinking, knowing that the party's going to be going into 11, 12 o'clock at night. If it's like somebody's birthday party or it's a family bar mitzvah, quinceañera, sweet 16, or whatever it is, and you're like, what? Wait, I thought you would have been done at like 7 o'clock. What? 11, 12 o'clock? So start time, end time. I know a lot of times too, on my particular form, we have, is this a sleepover? Yes or no? Are you planning to go to the event and then sleep over someone's house? That's something that we need to know, because that also helps with something else that's on the form that we'll discuss in a little bit. So is this a sleepover? Yes or no? So that's one of the things that we also want. If you're sleeping over somebody's house, we want to know where, who are the parents, and what's their phone number? I need to call them and talk to the parents and see what's going on. So that's something else that's on the form that asks, like, saying, whose house are you sleeping over? The other question with that too is, then what is the pickup time the next day? A lot of times there are some parents, especially when you're probably in 6th, 7th grade, if you have kids at 6th and 7th grade, or maybe even 8th grade for that matter. There's some parents that don't want the kids over there until 2, 3 in the afternoon after after they've actually slept over. They're thinking, oh dang, okay, these parents are gonna come pick up these kids at like 8 o'clock in the morning. That's gonna be all right. It's not gonna be a bad deal. But so you want to know when the sleepover is over and what time they need to be picked up. So when it comes to describing the event, right, it's also not about the start time but the end time, but we also want to know who's dropping you off. Who's dropping you off? I know that was like a big concern in families when I've talked to them, because they've always been like, well, that's great, you can go to that event, but how are you going to get there? Who's taking you? Are you taking the bus? Do I have to drop you off? Are their parents dropping you off? So asking that specific question helps you understand, okay, if the responsibility is on me to drop you off, then the start time, end time, and things of that nature may not work for me because I have to work or I have to make special arrangements. And so it just allows you an opportunity to think on those things throughout, so that you're not like caught off guard and whatnot. So makes sense, right? If who's dropping off, want to know, well, who's picking up and at what time, and who is going to be responsible for making sure that you get to back home where you need to be. So drop off time, pick up time, who's responsible. Put that on your child, on the youth themselves, to say, hey, you need to answer these questions. You need to figure these things out. And it's not a bad thing that if they have to come to you and say, hey, mom, dad, I'm not sure how I'm going to get there, so I'm wondering if you can help me out with being dropped off at Junior's house. That's fine. It just helps with the conversation. And instead of you trying to remember all these things in the moment, again, you've given this form to them. This is for something for them to think through and figure out and communicate with people, even if it is their friends and their friends' parents also, on making sure this event happens and that there is some rhyme and reason to it. The other thing that's in this form is, participants, meaning who is going to be participating in this event with you. Are you going with just your friend Junior, or is it Junior, Leslie, Shelly, and Monica, and Jesus? Who's all going to this thing? I want to know who you're going to be with. I need to know the friends that you have that I may know or that I may not know. I want to know their names, and I also want to know if there's going to be some adult supervision. Those are things that are important to me. So you have them fill this form out. Now, of course, they could fib, right? But if we know the event and we know the other parents that are going, we can give those parents a call or text them or email them or whatever. And if we don't have their email or phone number, hey, guess what? We should figure it out, right? Find out who it is. And ask these questions of the parents themselves if they know about this event that's going on and whatnot. So finding out who's going so that you can make a good decision and not assuming that it's just with Junior. If they're sleeping over somebody's house and you're just like, oh well, I guess they're just going with Junior. But the question asked in the form, who are the other participants? So that allows you an opportunity to again have a conversation about who your child is hanging out with and what their intentions are and what they're planning on doing. So I want to stress the part about the adult supervision and asking the youth, are there going to be other parents there and watching what's going on? Because that's really important, right? Because if they're going to go somewhere, especially maybe like in 8th and 9th grade, where they're feeling a little bit on their own, and there are some parents out there that allow youth just to hang out, and they're like, well, we're going to the movies, you guys have a good time, and here the youth are all by themselves in a house. Sometimes, idle hands at the devil's workshop where they're like, yeah, all right, your parents are going to the movie. All right, man, there's liquor in the cabinet. And I know that because my dad's got a medical marijuana card, you know what? He stashes his marijuana over here. And so we can get into that. Or, hey, I know that my mom's has some back problems and she got some painkillers. So we can hit those, right? So you want to know if the child is going to be alone in the house or not. So is there adult supervision? Is a great question to ask, like I said earlier. Not only is there adult supervision a good question to ask, but on the form it also asks, has your friend that you're doing this event with secured permission from their parents? Right? Because a lot of times what happens is your child or youth could be in the house all by themselves, yeah, ooh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna make this happen, and it's gonna go great, and it's gonna be me, Junior, Leslie, Monica, and we're all gonna kick it, and everything's gonna be great. But making all these plans get you set up to help them out and do what needs to be done, but then they haven't talked to their friends, and their friends haven't talked to their parents about what needs to happen or would like to be done. And so then that sets up this whole thing to completely just unravel. And so with this form and asking that question, this will trigger your child to think about, hey, Junior, did you ask your mom if we can go to this thing? Right? So again, just one of those things that helps in making that, helping with that thought process. Here's another one that I think a lot of people forget about in the moment. Right, if you're getting caught off guard and these questions are happening, or your child is asking you a question about participating in a certain event, that's easy to forget. Cost. Cost is a huge question that we need to ask. How much is this going to cost? And who's paying for it? Is it me? Is it you from the allowance you get, or the job that you have? So we want to know, how much is this going to cost, and who do you expect to pay for it? And it may not be an issue for yourself to pay for it. Nothing wrong with that. But hey, you may want to ask up front, to your youth who's doing this event, how much does it cost to get in? How are you going to eat? Are you planning on, saying, eating at the person's house, or are you guys ordering pizza, or are you guys going out to dinner and picking up food? So when you think about cost, when you say cost, that's the things that your youth has to think through and figure out and find out what's happening with that. Oh, so you're gonna like this next one. This next one is good, right? Oh, I like this one. I like this one. Chores. Hey, did you do your chores? Did you do your chores? If you didn't do your chores, this thing may be off the table altogether. Oh, so yeah, it's maybe one thing we didn't talk about so far yet, but it's always a good idea to have your youth, especially if they're in middle school and up, to definitely have some chores around the house. But I'll drop something on that a little bit later. But yeah, man, this is a great question to ask them. Like, hey, and if you didn't do your chores, or if how and when are you planning on doing your chores? Because this event's at this time, you're not going to get back until this time. So when do you think you're going to get those chores done? And so having them think about that, they have a responsibility to the home, right? And to their community, which is this house and this household. So how are you going to take care of your responsibilities? Just something we need to talk about. Not saying that you can't go because you cannot or will not be able to do it in that moment, but let's have a discussion about it. You have a responsibility, so how are you going to handle that responsibility? Because you know what? You got to remember, we're getting them trained for life, right? So there's a lot of things, like a lot of times when we want to take time off from work, we got to think ahead, right? If we're planning on taking that whole week off, what are the projects that we have ahead of us, or deadlines that are coming up and things of that nature? So that's something that we need to consider. So the other one that I like, chores is a good one, right? But the other one I like to put on there, or that I have on there, is homework. Do you have homework, and when will you get that homework accomplished? Because maybe you have in your scheduled routine that they do homework because they have a major project coming up on that Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning. And because of the event that they're going to, they're not going to be able to do that homework. So how are they going to do their homework is a great question to ask them. And again, it's not to throw everything off or have a huge argument and things like that. It's just to say, hey, are these things that you've thought about? Because these are things that do need to be taken care of. So I do need you to consider them. So those are the questions that I have on the form that, again, what I love about this is these aren't things that you have to necessarily remember. We're getting our young people ready for life. When they're 18, 19 years old, going to college or going into the workforce or trade school or whatever it may be, these are things that we need to get them ready for and to be considering. What's their plan? What are the things that they need in order to accomplish participating in extracurricular activities as they navigate their work life and their college life and things of that nature. So why not start training them now and put the responsibility on them and allowing them to know the answers to questions that they need to ask or that they need to respond to. Put the responsibility on them. Why not? Not a horrible thing. I love it. They fill out the form, they send it to you. You know the questions that you normally ask. Some additional questions that you may want to ask depending upon your youth or your child, and you know who they are and what they're about and things of that nature. You can always ask the question, are there drugs going to be involved at this extracurricular activities? Doesn't necessarily mean that your youth uses drugs, but maybe they're going to an event or an activity where they are aware that there's going to be other youth using. And so you want to be aware of that to maybe coach your child up a little bit more just to get them ready. If you allow them to go to that event, if you choose not to, that's fine also. The other thing, if they're spending the night over somebody's house, you may want to call the parents and ask the parents, do you allow underage drinking in your house? Not a horrible question to ask. The other question that a lot of people don't want to ask, and it's touchy, but you may want to know, hey, are there guns in the house? And how are they handled? Are they locked up? Are they under key, lock and key? Because you know what? Accidents occur. And you would hate for that accident to occur with your child being around. So if they're sleeping over somebody's house and you don't know them well, you may want to just ask those questions. Do you allow underage drinking? Do you have guns in the house? And that's you having that conversation with that parent because you care about your child. So that's something for you to consider and think about. I've done it. didn't hurt anybody's feelings, didn't hurt a situation. It's just being protective and aware of the situation. Just because a person has a gun in their house does not mean that it's unsafe. It's just making sure that they have their guns locked up and under lock and key. So remember, description of the event, start time, end time. There was chores that we asked about. There was homework that we're asking about. There's costs that we're asking about. Is this a sleepover or not? Who are the participants that are participating? So those are a lot of the questions that are, transportation, drop off, pick up. So those are things that we really want to ask, all those things. If you're interested in this form, just give me a shout out because you don't have time to maybe type it up yourself. It's all good. That's why I'm here for you. Hit me up at jamalgivens.com. That's Jamal, Jamal, the original spelling, at jamalgivens.com. Hey, thank you guys for listening. I'm going to get at you.
We used to it, up to it, down to it. We do it, we used to it, up to it, down to it. We do it, we used to it.